and welcome back to another player review or preview, whatever you want to call it, for AFL Fantasy and SuperCoach. And this time we'll be getting into an Adam Cerra preview, and this is mostly on the back of a lot of the players. The midfield, we're probably going to go through a lot of those players that are going to partner, potentially the likes of a Clayton Oliver, who I think is a pretty set and almost forget type of option for the mid prices. As we know, we usually have 2 or potentially 3 mid prices. So yeah, Cerra is sort of in that options alongside Will Day, alongside the likes of Sam Doherty, who will probably do a preview on, etc. as well. But yeah, I just wanted to do today's on Adam Cerra, as priced at 72.6 in Fantasy and 83.1 in SuperCoach. He's priced arguably 20, 30, 40 points, probably 20 to 30 points under on both platforms, I would say, 20 to 30. As we've seen in SuperCoach, he went 108 in 2023, that's 25 point unders, and then in Fantasy as well, he is a good 24 point unders from last year, so 24 and 25 points respectively. Anyway, let's get into this here and stop showing and actually show you guys what is I'm looking at. So as you can see here, I was rattling off the stats here. 72.6 in 2024 for Cerra in Fantasy, with a 96.6 the previous year. And then if you go to the year before that, in SuperCoach, and you do that same comparison, you'll see his low of 83.1 and in 2024, and a high of 108.3 in 2023. And partially you can see CBAs are down, etc. And then, so the first thing that comes up to me with this is just looking at 13 games played. Doesn't qualify for a discount across any platform, but he is missing 9 games, so that would coincide with an injury. If we go over to Fantasy and start looking at that with keeping that in mind that he was going to be injured. As you see here, he missed most of the season through injury, and you can pretty much look at that. The regular season, when he wasn't injured, he averaged 75.9, which is already 3.3 points of upside there. You can also see that if you take out the 2 games where he didn't play in CBAs, you can see he averaged 83 from 7 games. So there is some upside there. It doesn't have the early buy as well. So there definitely is upside there that he gets to fully take advantage of there. So that is, what is it? That is already 10.3 points of upside there. If you already look at that, if he's going to play that midfield role, which you kind of expect, given that they lost Matt Kennedy. They do have Jagger coming in. But I'd expect, if we look at the CBAs, and then we'll go back and show you the SuperCoach splits as well. Continue on this point here that Hewitt was in 68%, and that was mostly driven through, I would say, well, actually at the same time, Sam Walsh came in at the exact perfect time to mask an Adam Cerra. But if we look at it at the same time, that when the likes of a George Hewitt played his limited CBA games, it was exactly correlated with pretty much a larger portion for the likes of a Adam Cerra. And it's kind of weird that you look here and Cerra having 13, 15. So they kind of did swap, and as well as the fact that when Cerra did have low CBA time, in one of the games at least, it was Matt Kennedy taking some split time, which we know is taken away. I don't expect Jack Carroll to play much, and Elijah Hollands did get a little bit as well when the likes of Cerra was injured. So it looks as though, to me personally, that he's probably going to get that. What's this? Cripps, Walsh, Hewitt. That's 3. So you'd expect him to be that 4th player in the midfield at least, if not number 3, if George Hewitt does on the move out. I'd have to check in with some of the Carlton fans as well about this as well. But I have a feeling that Cerra is going to probably, if we look at 49 last year, if we look at the year before, because they haven't really had any major moves in there, he was at 57%, Hewitt 59, Walsh 55. That's because Walsh had a couple of injuries, as well as Paddy Dow, who's not there, etc. They obviously would shift it a little bit. Let's look at 2022 as well, because that would give you an all-right idea. You had Adam Cerra at 55%. So I think it's reasonable to expect Cerra at that 55 or so percent. and to have him basically the similar or roughly about the same as George Hewitt. So now that we do that, and then we look at, I'm just going to show you the SuperCoach in terms of 2024 and his numbers non-injury. And then we go, that was an injury game, etc. And then we look at all that. He averaged 86.9 with no injury. And then we take away the 2 games that he didn't play in the midfield. That goes up to a 93.1, which is 10 points on the dot of upside. And you look at all those games, and that's all 50% plus CBAs. So if we extend that out, and you can also almost add the 44% in, and that starts to give you some more numbers. We'll look at every game that he played that he went above 40% CBAs and actually played decent enough time on ground. That's a grand final, but I mean, it's 70% time on ground, I'd say, is an inside, mid, and 40% CBAs. So if we look at all of those, then you would get him averaging around about, if we look at all these, 2023, there we go, 1 second here. You would get, in the last 2 years, I believe I'm right in saying that you would get him if he has 70% TOG and also a 40% CBAs. You would get him averaging around about the 106 from 24 games. Yes, that is shoehorning or like sort of being a little bit lenient to him. So he does have that ceiling of 106, which is roughly about what he did in 2023 across the last 2 years. You can look at this even expanding another year, and I suspect you'd get similar-ish statistics here. Just looking at it quietly here, I think you'd get similar statistics in 2022. If you add all the games, you're still getting 37 games for a 104. If we look at this in terms of fantasy, I think you would see a very, very, very similar stat line here. Just quickly, just trying to get through this. And back to 2023, if my numbers are correct in saying this, just quickly doing this, 2023, kind of quick, there we go. You'd have him 95.5 through 22 games. So you're starting to see, and I think I did this yesterday with Riley Sanders, is that I said that the 4 game sample size, it's really low. Whereas these guys like Adam Cerra, like Will Day, you start to get these really big sample sizes showing across 2-3 years with a very similar midfield, I would say, that he does perform relatively the same. So I think that's sort of an indication to me that there is some historical value there. And I'm going back to 2022 now, and you get the 35. I had like 37 in this one, so I must have missed something in one of the games somewhere, but it is what it is there. So yeah, it does look like he definitely does have some historical value there. Where am I missing somewhere? Anyway, it is what it is there. I added that game up top. I'll take it away in the SuperCoach. But yeah, 36 games for 97.4. And then in SuperCoach, 36 games for a 104.8. So there is, if you look at it like that, there is he could go, his last 3 years, he's basically uninjured, gone around that 96 marker in fantasy. And then in the last 3 years, he's gone at about 105 or so in SuperCoach. So there's about 20 points of upside on both platforms if he isn't injured and actually gets the 4th midfielder role at the likes of Carlton. So that's where this kind of lies for Adam Cerra, is that there is definitely value there. Historical value, there's not really a discount. There is some injury value there. We talked about it. It was about 10 points or so, give or take, in 2024 of injury value. So you talk about injury value, you also talk about role value as well. If you look at his the role that he had for a little bit last year, and with the likes of Doherty going back into the back line, if we look at 2023 numbers, you'd see, I think, Doherty a little bit in the CBAs. Doherty had 22% CBAs because he had 3 big games of CBAs when Cerra was probably out. Cerra did play one of the 3 games, but if you look at that, he's not going to, I don't think, be having any CBAs, and he was sort of playing when Cerra was playing last year, in 2023, in the CBAs as well alongside him, or sort of they were playing as one spot almost. But that's sort of where I'm lying with this, is that Cerra is going to be a guy of value. He's going to probably sit about 15 points of value, which is about 87 in fantasy, and then also about probably 98, 97 in SuperCoach. Is that enough value is the big question, because usually when you're hunting a guy in this sort of 70s to 80s region, you're looking at 20 points of upside and being sort of that 95 to 100 in fantasy and sort of that 105, 110 in SuperCoach, because we know if we look at past seasons and I can switch this in SuperCoach to midfielders and then jump off that, you'll look at the average here and you'll see that a 105 is top 20. You're kind of, for those mid prices, looking at top 20. And if we look at the price rises, if we look at this and get rid of the sort of guys around there, then we look at biggest price rises, starting price maybe. If we look at the guys, he's priced at 83, which is about 430, 440k. If we look at guys in that range here, you'll see that a lot of them are in the end 60 odd k, Shoal, etc. But a lot of the best guys jump up. 103k from Jason Horne-Francis there. There's the 100k. 64k from Hewitt. 78k from Elliot Yeo, even though he was a lot higher at one point in the year. Ollie Wines as well, 84k. So a lot of the main mid prices that we talked about. 100k for Flanders. We talked about him last year as well. Jack Steele went up 34k, and we're starting to get into the massive guys that in the end you see a lot of these guys actually go down massive value. But if we go down here to sort of that 280k range and look at these guys, you got Tom Powell, 132k, sorry. 74k for Ollie Hollands, 80 odd k, 100k for Sam Durham. These guys are making, you sort of want those in SuperCoach, those guys that are going to go 20 points of value, those 100k guys that gain value. You see here, Horne-Francis again, we've sort of gone through that there. So all of those are sort of those mid prices, and that's after they've also gone down a little bit. Harms went up 139k there. But those are the type of guys that you really, really want. Those guys that are going to go up 100k, 150k, give or take. And that's sort of the mid prices that you're looking at. Whereas I feel like Cerra, like I said, 15 is going to be about 75k. So he's not the worst option, I would say, but he's also probably not the best option in terms of mid prices. And that's why this video is sort of tailored. These player reviews are tailored to him. Because, as I said earlier in the video, I expect him to get that fourth on-baller spot, which is going to see him stay around these numbers as well. There's 10 points of injury upside, etc. And so it's just he's battling with Will Day, that we said is probably 20 points of upside with Will Day, if not more. And Sam Doherty, who's had in that massive injury discount, which is already about 27, 30 points of injury discount there. So there's more value there. Clayton Oliver as well. James Peatling moving to a new side, so he has massive sub value. Not discount, that would be just sub value through not being played as much. So a lot of these guys have better discounts almost, or better underpriced, or they've just shown it in the last year. So that's what I'm worried about Cerra, is that it was 2 years ago with Cerra. He's also compared to a lot of these guys are last year, or being unders from last year, etc. So that's what I'm really worried about Cerra with, and why he's probably not in my actual side at the moment on both platforms, I don't think. If he is, then I haven't really changed my SuperCoach platform around. I don't even think I've changed Philippou out of my SuperCoach side at the moment. I haven't even looked at it for a while now, because it doesn't matter as much early on. But Cerra could find a way in, but it would be basically because the round zero mid prices probably fail, I feel like, rather than starting him, because that Carlton midfield already takes up quite a lot of points. And so it'll just be interesting to see where the new points come from, because obviously with Nick Newman out, they're going to have to you probably have Doherty getting points back. You're probably going to have a boost from Ollie Holland. Is the overall Carlton side going to have a boost in terms of points, or is it going to stay or even decrease a little bit, because Adam Cerra is going to find 20 points of upside there, and I just don't think he can necessarily do that, especially if you have guys like TDK getting points, 20 points, 30 points of upside there or whatever with him. So that's where I'm just worried that Cerra won't actually find any more, because other guys will be the guys that get upside with Carlton. But anyway, this is probably one of the shorter ones, because I think it was a little bit less to talk about in terms of the likes of a Adam Cerra. It was sort of straightforward in that he's got some injury value. He's also had a little bit of a down year last year. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Adam Cerra preview for 2025. Probably a guy that I'm not saying go against, but a guy that I'm saying is probably a little bit back from the starting pack of mid prices that I necessarily like as much in Fantasy and SuperCoach. So yeah, that's the review there. If you did enjoy it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I will see you guys in the next player recap tomorrow. Bye guys.